Hi Cubs, it's your bear, Veggie Bear, and it's nice to be able to see you in this video where we're going to go off of some deck lists that are really popular for BT12. Now, I was just queuing and asking some of the guys in my locals and wondering what kind of deck profiles they would want to see. Now, because these are the kind of deck profiles and I haven't had a chance to test them, I'm using these as kind of proxies for you guys to be able to test to see if this deck is really what you want to be able to play in BT12. One of them, which people are kind of unsure about, is Bloomlord, but it's one that a lot of the guys wanted me to cover, so I'll definitely do it. And yes, I'm the only girl in my locals, so they've been absolute gentlemen in helping me in so many of the parts of deck building. So let's go through it. Now, these decks are also slightly based on some of the topping decks for the Japanese meta, because I decided to do a lot of research for them, and I could only come up with these 3 decks, but I feel like it's really good just so I can have some background research. And I want to be able to give you guys proper content. First thing we're going to be running, of course, is the Argo mod. If you got the Beelzemon deck, you probably have the alt art for this one. When this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, gain 1 memory. Argomon's just really good. I would run it over Gummymon. You also need your Floodgate Terriermon. I think there's no such thing as a green deck without a Terriermon. And sorry if I'm covering the text, guys. It was really hard to be able to put in the model and also talk about the deck list at the same time. Your opponent can't gain memory except with tamer effects. I think Terriermon is just really neat. We need our Vanilla Mushroomon from BT10. It's a vanilla staple, so it's probably cheap to be able to build. And we also need our Palmon. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 card with vegetation or plant in one of its traits, and 1 card with fairy in its traits among them to your hand. Place the rest of them at the bottom of your deck. It's a really good searcher. I don't know why you wouldn't run it, especially in Bloomlord. There is Pomamon. Pomamon is the most goated level 3. It really is one of the heart pieces of this deck, besides Bloomlord himself. And I think it's just wonderful. When an effect suspends this Digimon, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Really, really good. Another vanilla red Vegiemon. We definitely need to see it. Also Sunflowermon. When digivolving by suspending one of your green Digimon, you may play 1 Digimon card with vegetation, plant, or fairy in one of its traits, and 3000 DP or less from your hand without paying its play cost. You get a free play cost. It's really, really good. And its inheritable is also even wonderful. When it effect suspends one of your Digimon, draw 1, so it has that draw power that you need. Cherrymon, I always used to have this as a one-off. Some people do like to take it out of their Bloomlord decks, but I've noticed in a lot of BT12 mod meta, they've been kind of putting Cherrymon in because it has a disruption. And when an opponent attacks, you may switch the target of an attack to one of your suspended Digimon. It's kind of good. It's a nice redirect effect. Agitarmon, you definitely have to play 4 of these. Agitarmon is very essential for the deck, and I do recommend picking up its pieces. By suspending one of your green Digimon, you may play 1 Digimon card with vegetation, plant, or fairy in one of its traits and 3000 DP or less from your hand. So it's the same as Sunflowermon, but also the inheritable. When an effect suspends one of your Digimon, gain 1 memory. It's wonderful. As long as the opponent doesn't have the Floodgate, you can pretty much get into Bloomlord really fast with this card just by digivolving. It's really good before the opponent even has a chance to play a Galzimon or anything else. So Blossomon Desorption, I feel like I don't really need to go into this card as much, but it's just wonderful. Free Digivolutions, how can you not? I would definitely play 4 of them. Weedmon is always good at 2 because of any Digibursting, and I think it's just great for gain 1 memory. I've seen people play more than 2 Weedmons, but I would say it's great as a vegetation, but I would say I'd like to concentrate more on my vanillas. There was some more Bloomlord support in terms of level 3s, and I just haven't seen them really work too much in other people's decks. A lot of the guys recommended to me that I shouldn't really put it in my deck, so I'm just keeping this as vanilla support. But if you guys want to add that, feel free. This deck is just to help you work on what you need. And of course, the man, Bloomlordmon. I don't know why you wouldn't play 4 of him. I think he's just really great. And I think with Hydramon, it's important to play at least 3. Hydramon has really made Bloomlord an essential deck. And I feel like it just helps the deck in so many ways. So I at least play 3 of them. So 4 of Bloomlord, 3 of Hydra. You can change up the ratios depending on what you want, but I feel like that's just a good ratio to have. And of course, the new card for green, the scariest card I feel like I've ever seen, Quartzmon. When digivolving, suspend all Digimon except this, and suspend all Tamers. Then gain 1 memory for every 2 suspended Digimon and or Tamers in play. You know how a lot of people are picking up Crossheart? Imagine it with this deck when you can get to it. Now, the problem with Crossheart is that it has a lot of speed, but if you can kind of get to it more, I feel like this is going to be ridiculous. In all turns, all Digimon except this one and all Tamers can't unsuspend. That includes your side, the one that's playing Quartzmon. Then, when attacking, there's so many effects. It's like we're going to Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. Then for every 5 suspended Digimon and or Tamers in play, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Quartzmon is ridiculous. I feel like you can only do it through a D-Digivolve effect, but it's absolutely insane. It's really, really crazy. And I'm really scared of green when it comes into play. Next up, we always need our 1 hidden potential discovered. It just helps so much with green decks, and it's such an important stable. Why wouldn't you run one? Now we're gonna have some green memory boosts. I see people running Dino memory boost, but I just prefer green memory boost personally. You do you, but I think green memory boost is just great. Delay, gain 2 memory. Samadhi Santi. Now, Samadhi Santi is always optional in terms of a lot of decks, but I feel like in this new format with BT12, it's probably important that you have at least 1 Samadhi Santi, because you imagine if they hit that insecurity, it'd be so great. A lot of people, for a more aggressive build, will have Grandel Soul, but I feel like Samadhi Santi kind of like complements the deck. This deck doesn't need Grandel Soul as long as it has Quartzmon, but that's just my opinion. And of course, we're going to have 1 Mimi. Some people like to tech in Grandel Soul instead of Mimi, and that's totally fine. I just find that if you hit a Memory Tamer, it's going to do so much for this deck and even more, and your opponent won't be able to have time to breathe. So, that is the Bloom Lord deck profile. Let's go into